Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. Hurricane Erin growing in size, coming dangerously close to the East Coast. The state of emergency right now. Also developing a Navy fighter jet crashing off the coast of Virginia. The pilot ejecting just in time. First, that monster hurricane pummeling the East Coast with massive waves, life-threatening rip currents. Mandatory evacuations underway. Beachfront property owners holding their breath. Powerful surf crashing into homes, flooding roadways. Officials warning people to stay out of the water. Beaches closed up and down the coast, including New York City and New Jersey. Waves up to 20 feet expected. Victor Okendo live in the storm zone. Our weather team standing by with Erin's track. News just coming in, a Navy fighter jet pilot ejecting just moments before an F-18 crashed off the coast of Virginia. What we're learning about the daring rescue. A deadly blast rocking a neighborhood, destroying a home, sending debris flying, at least one person killed. And the new video tonight showing the moment a business exploded in North Carolina. The major showdown in Texas. Democratic lawmakers on a marathon push to stall a redistricting vote aimed at reshaping the congressional map. What we've just learned. Chilling surveillance video leading to an international investigation. Police say a California husband flees to Peru as his wife is found dead miles from their home. What they say a neighbor's surveillance camera shows. The heartbreaking testimony of parents of some of the Camp Mystic children killed in disaster. Texas pending answer and change.
This law is one Rich should have to endure.
Nearly 2 months after the tragedy. A massive brush fire burning out of control in the Everglades sparks air quality alerts across South Florida. The new video just coming in, a passenger plane veering off the runway in Boston. Angry passengers file lawsuits against two of the country's biggest airlines. They say their window seats had no windows. And remembering a beloved judge with a big heart, whose countless acts of kindness made him a social media star and the king of second chances.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David York. But first, breaking tonight is the President's Attorney General is calling attention to the huge numbers of arrests since the federalization of D.C. police force. Today, the Vice President and the Defense Secretary took a field trip of sorts to see for themselves what's happening in the nation's capital. This comes as the Justice Department looks into suspicious crime statistics from D.C. Metro Police. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth making an unannounced trip to thank National Guard troops. Somehow protesters found out, and the rest, well, watch. The Vice President and Defense Secretary unfazed during their visit to D.C.'s Union Station, both calling out crime not only in the nation's capital, but across the country.
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Maybe the same polls that said Kamala Harris is more popular by 10 points.
On the streets of D.C., administration officials insist efforts to combat crime are working.
All these demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been.
Attorney General Pam Bondi touting more than 550 arrests since the joint operation began almost 2 weeks ago. The U.S. Marshals Service is offering $500 rewards for information leading to an arrest in D.C. during the public safety surge.
When you walk around the streets, you'll notice a difference, and that's what President Trump was talking about when he said we're going to clean up our streets.
It comes as federal officials are taking a new approach to law enforcement in the city, telling local prosecutors not to seek felony charges against people carrying rifles or shotguns. And a youth curfew goes into effect Thursday evening in parts of Washington. Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser today responding to news the Justice Department opened a formal investigation into the potential tampering of D.C. crime statistics to make the city appear safer.
We'll cooperate with any investigation. We know that crime has gone down in our city.
D.C. statistics, Brett, show violent crime dropped 26% last year, but many at the White House and Justice Department just don't believe it. It's unclear if there will be any federal charges stemming from this probe. Brett.
All right, David, thank you.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for having us here today.
Good to see you.
So you had quite an eventful morning over at Union Station, as we saw in that clip. Tell us about how you decided to go over there. You know, a lot of us D.C. residents and former D.C. residents know it well, but it's been the site of a lot of crime in recent years.
Of course.
And you decided to pay a visit. What happened?
Well, so a couple things. First of all, I had heard from a couple of friends who used to avoid Union Station because there were vagrants and there were crazy people screaming at kids.
Starmer once said, swiftly deleted social media posts shouldn't always lead to prosecution.
But now, as Prime Minister, he backed the jailing of Lucy Connolly for a post that she deleted within hours.
Now, with her walking free today after being sentenced to 31 months, is this evidence of two-tier justice?
Nervous students are waking up to GCSE results this morning as thousands across the country rip open those all-important envelopes. All eyes are going to be on the gap between girls and boys and asking, will that gap grow even wider?
Later this morning, the Home Office will release the latest immigration figures. Pressure is mounting on the government to get a grip on record arrivals.
From pygmy hippos to rockhopper penguins, it's Rain Week at the zoo. We'll be live as the annual checkup gets underway, and keepers find out who's been piling on the pounds and who is fighting fit.
Here's Baroness Karen Brady. Yeah, both those pictures are her. She seems to be aging in reverse. She's unveiled a very glamorous glow-up. But are people like her in the public eye setting unrealistic beauty standards?
Good morning. Arsenal have dramatically hijacked Tottenham's £68 million deal for Crystal Palace's England international Ebere Eze. The playmaker's decision to join his boyhood club has left Spurs chairman Daniel Levy facing stinging criticism from his own fans. We'll look at what it all means. Base this out.
It's a little cooler out there for many of us this morning. Generally a dry day though, with some sunshine and some cloud, and that mixture likely to stick with us into tomorrow as well. Join me later for a full forecast.
Just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Eamon Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Frustration is flying high among some Air Canada passengers this Wednesday night.
They're going to have your number just hangs up on you.
What the airline is offering its customers, who is eligible, and a message to all Canadian carriers. Israel begins the takeover of Gaza City, where many Palestinians have already moved to, and signs America's support for Israel is waning. The U.S. president's problem with museums.
We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner.
Why he says they're too woke, and how curators are responding. Plus, a fossil older than the dinosaurs. How Canadian paleontologists stumbled upon remains of a dragonfly tens of millions of years old. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Canada's largest airline says thousands of customers will take flight over the next 24 hours as Air Canada gradually gets back to business. All of its planes were grounded for 3 days after flight attendants went on strike and then defied a back-to-work order. The airline is also dealing with a backlash from frustrated customers who had their plans disrupted. Heidi Petracek on the progress made and what still needs to be done.
With Air Canada passengers moving again, the airline is sending a message to those still waiting to get on board. We truly appreciate your continued patience.
That's from the airline's new online portal for affected customers, which states more than 90,000 people are expected to resume travel between Wednesday and Thursday. The effort to communicate with passengers falling flat for some.
Big zero! I think it definitely could have been handled much better.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Israel's military says it has entered the first stages of its planned assault on Gaza City and already has a hold on the outskirts of the city. This comes just hours after Israel's defense minister approved military plans for takeover of the area. Tens of thousands of reservists are being called up. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance says that European countries will have to provide the lion's share of security guarantees for said that the leaders of Ukraine and Russia should meet to discuss a peace deal, even if they were to issue. This was have voted new could party is by news in the U.S. House of Representatives. Democrats have protested around both parties for years to win seats.
And discover a new world of luxury travel.
Hello again, you're watching France 24 and Daybreak with me, Peter O'Brien. Here are your headlines. Israeli forces are at the gates of Gaza City as the defense minister approves a plan to take it. And Israel greenlights a highly controversial settlement in the West Bank. President Donald Trump suggests the US might provide some security guarantees to Ukraine, with VP J.D. Vance quick to stress that European countries should shoulder most of the burden. And Texas redraws maps in an attempt to flip seats in Congress from Democrat to Republican next year, while California tries the same trick the other way round.
Is that you, Bangladesh realistic? Foreign correspondent, Tuesday at 8 on ABC and ABC iView.
Today, bodies found in the search for a father and son after their car plunged into a river north of Sydney. Israel launches a renewed ground assault on Gaza City as part of its widely condemned plan to take over the region. A heated exchange at the Economic Reform Roundtable between the Treasurer and his shadow counterpart. And scientists sound the alarm over Antarctica's shrinking ice, warning the impact on the planet could be irreversible. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Rosa Childs. The bodies of two people have been found after a car carrying a father and his two sons crashed into a river north of Sydney overnight. A multi-agency search was launched today after the vehicle plunged into the McDonald River at St Albans near Wiseman's Ferry. A man in his 20s was able to escape, but authorities confirmed the bodies of two other people were located a short time ago in waters nearby by police divers in the search for the missing men. The bodies are yet to be formally identified. This is a developing story, and we'll speak to our reporter Pablo Vinales for more information shortly.
o'clock on Breakfast Today, Kemi Badenoch encourages Tory councils to launch challenges over asylum hotels.
Plus, we get latest data this morning giving the most up-to-date, accurate picture of immigration to the UK.
It's Thursday the 21st of August. Your headlines. The leader of the Conservatives says she'll support councils bringing legal challenges to close migrant hotels. Two Labour councils say they're also considering action. We're in Bournemouth to see how immigration has changed the town ahead of the latest national numbers due out later this morning. Smiling ISIS fighter on death row captured by Somali forces and claiming he's got no regrets joining the group. Plus we'll be with students as they get their GCSE results later this morning. In the sport, Scotland's struggles in Europe continue. Celtic drawing 0-0 in their Champions League qualifier. A very good morning to you. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch.
This is Asia Now.
Hi and good afternoon. It is 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 a.m. in New Delhi, 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Yasmin Yonkers at this hour. Israel pushes forward with expanded military operations in Gaza's densely populated areas, mobilizing tens of thousands of reservists. Russia warns that its exclusion in discussions about Ukraine's security will lead to nowhere as the Kremlin continues to downplay the likelihood of a summit with President Volodymyr Zelensky. And Russia and India's foreign ministers will hold talks in Moscow today. Trade on top of the agenda amid U.S. tariff pressures.
Africa News. The news.
Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has opened a 3-day summit with nearly 50 African leaders, pledging deeper economic and strategic ties as Tokyo looks to counterbalance waning U.S. engagement and China's expanding footprint on the continent. The gathering, part of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development (TICAD), brings together heads of states, ministers and global officials, including UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Ishiba is expected to unveil a new Indo-Pacific African cooperation framework linking government agencies, industries and experts to expand free trade and investment. Central to this vision is the Indian Ocean African Economic Zone initiative designed to channel Japan's business activity from India and the Middle East into African markets.
The Trump administration is ramping up its immigration crackdown. The news outlet CBS is reporting that Washington has expanded efforts to deport migrants by pressuring foreign governments to accept individuals who aren't even their own citizens. According to CBS, Uganda has allegedly agreed to take in non-criminal deportees from across Africa, while Honduras will receive migrants from other Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America, including families and children. The controversial deals are based on the U.S. Safeguard Country Law, which allows asylum seekers to be rerouted to nations deemed capable of processing their claims. Critics argue the policy offloads U.S. asylum responsibilities onto other countries with fragile systems and questionable human rights records. The agreements are part of a broader push by the Trump administration to ramp up deportations when returning migrants to their home countries isn't possible. On Wednesday, Uganda denied reports that a deal had been struck. The country's foreign minister says there's no such deal, adding Uganda lacks the capacity to host foreign deportees. South Sudan, Rwanda and Eswatini have agreed to similar deals, sparking backlash from human rights groups.
Barely 2 weeks into the new US tariff regime, in South Africa's economic outlook has taken a hit. Facing tariffs of 30% from its second largest trade partner, the growth forecast for this year and next have both been reduced.
These tariffs will have a severe impact on South African exports, especially vehicle exports, and also on agricultural exports. And unfortunately, people will lose their jobs that will not easily get new employment because of the huge unemployment problem we have in South Africa.
Now the country's economists are urging stronger ties with the rest of the world.
Up to 2/3 of South Africa's export basket is comprised of mining sector output as well as manufacturing items, and most notably automotive products. So these are directly in the crosshairs given the very substantial 30% tariff. America is deeply concerned that it, as an empire, is in decline, and it wants to arrest its decline, but at the same time stymie the ascendancy of other nations. It's about international competition, and where there is a weaponization of trade and industrial policy. If we lock down in the United States, we will continue to work to enhancing relationships with, let's call it, the global north, excluding the United States, and the global south.
South Africa is also hoping that China, which accounts for 20% of its exports, will help cushion the blow from the US tariffs.
South African authorities have arrested 6 individuals, including conservationist George Hume, the former owner of what was once the world's largest rhino farm, in connection with a sprawling rhino-owned trafficking syndicate. The specialized ops unit concluded a 7-year investigation into transnational rhino-owned trafficking, culminating in the arrests on Tuesday. Prosecutors alleged the group secured nearly 964 rhino homes, some 50% of the southern white rhino population, using fraudulent permits intended exclusively for domestic trade and illegally exporting them to Southeast Asia. Hume was granted 100,000 rand bail, while others received amounts ranging from 2,000 to 10,000 rand.
The White House appears to have a case of FOMO regarding TikTok and its 170 million US users. That could explain why it's just launched an official account on the Chinese-owned social media platform less than a month before President Trump is set to ban it. A 2024 data protection law required TikTok to stop operating in January unless its owner ByteDance sold off its US operations. Trump once called the spread of TikTok a national emergency and has said the app's data collection could give China access to Americans' personal information. During his first term, he signed an executive order imposing sanctions on the app, but he went on to use TikTok extensively during last year's presidential campaign and has since extended the deadline for the sell-off several times. It's currently set to come into force on September 17th.
Good evening, I'm Amna Nabaz.
And I'm Jeff Bennett. On the News Hour tonight, NATO leaders plan what role U.S. and European forces could play in the future defense of Ukraine.
The American Academy of Pediatrics releases new vaccine recommendations that diverge from CDC guidelines.
And the challenge of making Florida communities more resilient to climate change amid potential federal funding cuts.
We're in Hurricane Alley, and we can't necessarily pick up our island and move it. We are the barrier to the mainland.
Tonight, Hurricane Aaron heading closer to the East Coast with winds of up to 110 miles per hour. Parts of North Carolina already feeling Aaron's surge. The eye of the storm seen from space. Dangerous, life-threatening surf and rip currents forcing beaches to close along the eastern seaboard for days. Tropical storm warnings from North Carolina all the way to Virginia. Also breaking tonight, no sign of peace as the bombing continues in Gaza. Israel calling up to 60,000 reservists. The new plan to take over Gaza City. In Texas, the parents that lost so much demanding answers. The heartbreaking testimony from parents of the Camp Mystic campers who died in the devastating July 4th flash floods. One mother still awaiting the remains of her daughter. The freak shark attack right on the beach. A fisherman posing with a big catch until it catches a chunk of his leg. What he told us after surgery. Homicide investigators in Los Angeles examining this chilling video. Did a husband kill his wife and drag her body out in a bag? How police say he fled to Peru with their children. In Washington, President Trump ordering a complete review of the Smithsonian and other museums, even accusing it of focusing too much on how bad slavery was. A young woman battling to get spinal surgery while battling her insurance company. Her father taking to TikTok for help. What happened after we started asking questions? Our cost of denial tonight. And Rob Gronkowski's epic adventure. The duck boat, the slide, the spike, and the tears. The playground unlike any other. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
North Carolina is a state of emergent Aaron gains size and strength. All along the East Coast, dangerous rip currents have prompted warnings to stay out of the water.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson. Maurice Dubois is off tonight. Hurricane Aaron is picking up steam and could strengthen again into a major Category 3 hurricane by tomorrow night. While the storm is not expected to make landfall, forecasters expect it to send large waves to the outer banks of North Carolina, where thousands have been forced to evacuate. Aaron is a large storm, about 650 miles wide. That's twice the size of an average hurricane, and its tropical storm force winds extend for about 250 miles from the center. Aaron is also expected to produce life-threatening rip currents from Florida to New England. From the Carolinas to the New York City area, Some beaches have already been closed for swimming, though not everyone is heeding warnings to stay out of the water. The North Carolina coast is expected to bear the brunt of the storm, and meteorologist Rob Marciano is there again to lead us off this evening.
Hey, John, as you mentioned, this storm is getting bigger, it's getting stronger, and it's getting closer now, just under 300 miles away, and it's generating some massive swells, some of which are crashing into this shoreline here. This motel's been inundated with water. Some of these big waves have actually already done some damage, and this is getting across the highway as well. And if this is just a taste of what's to come tomorrow, the folks here don't want any part of it.
After more than 7 decades running the Outer Banks Motel in Buxton, Carol Dillon knows a thing or two about storms.
I won't say.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli attacks on Gaza have killed at least 56 Palestinians over the past day, even as 3 more people starved to death amidst Israel's months-long siege. Among the latest dead are 22 more people killed while seeking food. With the latest killings, health officials report the death toll from Israel's 22-month-long bombardment and siege of Gaza has topped 62,000. But that number is likely a vast undercount, as more than 11,000 people remain missing and are presumed dead. The UN says nearly 19,000 children are among the dead. Meanwhile, Gaza is home to the largest number of child amputees in modern history, with over 4,700 cases of children who've lost limbs to Israeli bombs, many of which were supplied by the United States.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.